We're just about a minute behind, but we should be good to go. So Manoj, welcome. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello, everyone. This is Manoj Iragavarapu. I'm the Managing Director on the Vsoft Lab side. Can you hear me okay, Brianna?
Yeah, you are good to go. Sorry, let me get my camera back on. All right, I'll run your slides on this end so we can get started with yours. So everybody meet Manoj so you can
Hello, everyone.
Started.
So today we'll be covering on how automation and AI comes. AI will go hand in hand together. I'm Managing Director on Vsoft Lab side. I handle all the strategic initiatives, delivery, and partnerships at Vsoft, and I work very closely with AI Innovation Consortium. And I started the automation lab that covers the conventional automation areas, like how you automate using apps or APIs or AIs. And I was part of the initial virtual agents that were created for IT services, predominantly on ServiceNow, and work closely with teams on intelligent automation, especially for invoice processing using process mining and RPA tools. So as part of this bridging the gap between automation and AI, we'll be covering three main key areas. One is the role of AI in process automation, how we can integrate AI into the regular conventional automation processes, as well as how you get into defining the manual steps within the processes itself. And then how we're using collaboration between multiple entities to drive automation with AI. And then we'll go over some of the use cases and what could be the next steps for increasing that collaboration and getting better participation into this, so we can all see the ROI out of automation. It's a good one. We can go on, I think. So predominantly, right? The first step when you think of automation is understanding what is the current process, what are the different steps that are existing in that process that can be automated. For that, you need to go through the painful process of understanding, defining, and documenting the existing processes, which itself takes a lot of time. There are several tools that are now using AI to do process mining. So these tools you integrate within your systems. They connect with the nodes. They call the events and make sure that it is monitoring the process and trying to generate a process map, if I may, on what is actually happening and identify which is taking more time and which part can be manual and which part can be automated, right? Using those, we can identify the use cases that aptly apply for automation. And not every use case applies for every single solution out there for automation. For example, if you take RPA, there are specific areas that you apply for automation. And similarly, intelligent automation applies for certain things, and AI applies for certain things. So one of the major areas that we're doing with the collaboration that I'll be talking about is how do you define or how do you come up with that process mining? How are we going to identify the right use cases? And how can we apply intelligent process automation on top of the current process to get the best ROI out of them, right? And when it comes to the collaboration, it's not always that a single enterprise that want to automate and get the business value has all the tool sets, skill sets, expertise in all the platforms that exist, or even the knowledge of the platforms that exist. it takes a special dedicated team to do that. And not every small and medium business, or even some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies, have that kind of establishment put in place. So that's where we started the automation lab, where we collaborate with um, the local businesses, the universities, and come up with an execution method that is supported by the platforms and services. So we are glad to announce that the automation lab will be part of the AI Innovation Consortium, which is already working closely with several universities and entities. And we want to combine that AI component that has not been there as part of the automation lab before, to bring the AI initiatives and innovation into the automation labs activities as well. But when I say about the business, identifying the business value and talent pool, a sample of how this works is we work together with the Chamber of Commerce, for example, the GLI in Louisville, and several other local Chamber of Commerces that we identified, chambers of commerce that we identified. And we take into consideration what are the local key entities and enterprises that are having automation. So you work together, let's say in Louisville, you take the manufacturing area or the insurance area, you pick up some areas and you identify, sitting with them at the round table, that are vertical specific and also functional specific. It could be more of your finance and accounting that the local entities are seeing a lot of issues. So the local use cases that apply, study them with a talent pool that comes from researchers, professors, or even the students from local universities. In this case, we have a great collaboration between GLI, University of Louisville, and we bring in companies like Vsoft Consulting, or your RPA tools like your UiPath or Automation Edge, and your process mining tools like Celonis. And then you form a collaboration and come up with what are the best solutions, define a proof of concept, best solutions. And I'll be going over this process on how it works in detail in the next slides. But you define that and you execute that and show the ROI. So that's the best way to do whatever this independent innovation teams that huge companies maintain can still be brought to your small and medium businesses in cities and towns like Louisville, Lexington, Chicago, Cincinnati, and so on and so forth, right? So like I was saying, we're leveraging on the platform that was built and proven by AI Innovation Consortium, and also the previous works of Automation Lab. And you can see the works in other presentations that were done by Penn State and University of Houston, where the data is collected from enterprises. They're getting processed, mined, and data models were built with the AI using Penn State's resources and University of Houston's resources, using their students and professors. And then the results were brought back to the company and being analyzed by resources from Vsoft Consulting or people that were supporting the platforms, and you get the best results back. And you're also catering to the general audience, the same work and models that were built, so everyone can benefit from them as part of that data collection and model building, and that collaboration that is happening between these different entities. So, and the partnerships with the process mining companies, RPA, Chamber of Commerce, all of this we have seen in AI Consortium that gave the best results, and we are seeing the benefits already with companies that are implementing them from a proof of concept phase into a production grade products, and the same models are being used by others in that industry. So it's not anymore a simple innovative concept. It's been proven, and we want to expand that into other areas such as intelligent automation with RPA, building your apps that has a link with IoT and AI, and then expand onto the same process of that collaboration and bring overall benefit for everyone in that industry, right? From a like I said, as we are expanding into those collaborations, one of the biggest thing that we are seeing is how we define these processes. How do we bring people, I mean, as a next steps, how do you bring these companies together to the round tables and understanding what are the main problems that these companies are facing? That has been always the biggest challenge, because either you know there is a problem and you don't know the solution, or you don't even know the problem to get go, or you know the problem and solution and you don't know how to implement that or execute that. This has been the major classification that we are seeing across the board as a consulting company. And that's what we came to hear from Innovation Lab and others that are participating in these initiatives. So to understand and benefit what we implement for our clients as best practices, we want to bring the same thing to Automation Lab and Innovation Consortium. And the first steps generally are always sitting together at that round table, understanding what stage the companies are. Do they understand that there is a problem, or do they define the problem? If not, how can we help them define that problem? Understand those processes, mine those processes, and get in. These are the areas in general that we can define, or the issues that the whole vertical or the industry or the functional area is facing. So sit with CFOs, sit with COOs, and understand in those roundtable conferences the specific areas that we can bring the best ROI, and then build proof of concepts using partners from the RPA tools and using the resources that universities have been supporting, and provide them a tangible ROI, define that ROI and show them a tangible ROI with a small proof of concept that they can take back, not only internally, but outside at the vertical, in the industry conferences and other areas, to show this is what we have been doing. For example, if you take the defect detection that Penn State has been doing, it's not just for that particular company to take to other departments and show, but it's also a best practice that they can demonstrate at the vertical level. And the good part of it being part of a consortium is that everyone can benefit from the fruits of whatever we come back from this. So everyone collaboratively will participate and benefit from whatever results we're getting out of this Automation Lab collaboration with the AI consortium and the steps that we have defined, right? So I'll summarize on a higher level whatever we have discussed for the past 20 minutes. One, the biggest announcement is we'll be combining the efforts of Automation Lab with the AI Innovation Consortium. That expands the horizon of what consortium has been doing so far, predominantly focusing on AI. We'll be able to bring several conventional automation areas into the consortium, bringing in your intelligent robotic process automation, your building of intelligent apps, and integration using services such as MuleSoft or DOL with the IoT devices, so that overall automation can be achieved, right? And we'll be working closely towards chambers of commerce locally and with the local companies, both small and big, to identify the areas of automation predominantly within that vertical or within some functional areas. And this is not a good to do kind of a thing anymore. With the whole COVID situation, having to do more with less is a point of survival at this point. So we are accelerating this process of identifying the key areas of automation so that we can contribute to these local companies for both for their survival and thriving once things open up. So conducting those roundtable conferences, and we'll be releasing the schedules of how we'll be doing that. And if you're all interested in participating, please reach out to me or Brianna or the organizers of AI Consortium or Automation Lab, virtual event organizers, so that we can include you into part of those roundtables and include your companies into part of those things. And we'll be utilizing the collaboration that I defined with the universities, with platforms that are participating into the Automation Lab, so that they can bring in what are the best practices they're seeing, not just within their platform or not just within a particular company, but across the board, across the industry, across. So it could be like something that we are doing in a surgical area could benefit from something that we're doing in manufacturing. As we have recently seen, the thermal scanning, the cameras that use the temperatures, variation temperatures that were used in semiconductors manufacturing, automatically took a transformation to scan temperatures of temperature elevations in humans. So that can help with the COVID health screenings and all of those things. So so the mindset of bringing all the knowledge together from different areas, like cutting different platforms and cutting different verticals, is what we'll be seeing going forward. And we'll be taking that first step towards ROI. We'll be creating tangible proof of concepts that can show an ROI that on top of the areas of automation that we define. And we'll be expanding that into a production grade services that can be used by everyone. So as a key takeaway, mainly if you're interested in that collaboration, interested in finding out what other automation techniques we'll be following, how it can benefit from you, and how we can define an ROI, please reach out to me, or please reach out to the organizers, or please reach out to Automation Consortium. AI Consortium. Thank you.
All right. Well, we do have some time for some questions with you, Manoj.
Sure.
This one came in. Are there innovation labs across the country, and does anyone know about them? Would love to participate.
Oh, definitely. So we'll be sending you a list of areas where we are collaborating that way. Like I said, we have with University of Louisville, Louisiana State University, I'm stating the university so I can expand into the areas where they belong. Louisiana State University, University of Houston, Penn State University. We are expanding into Canada as well. And there are several other new universities that are starting to participate, and new companies in that local areas that we're participating. So we started with a test bed in Louisville, and then it took off, and then we started expanding to other areas with robotics, with AI, with automation, and several other areas, depending on the need of local enterprises and what we hear from the university specializations in that area.
Perfect. All right, we got another one here. Can I automate my field salespeople with proposals to signing and hand it directly through accounting and our operations/delivery team?
Excellent question. That's one of the classic examples of how we are using a combination of RPA and integrations with mobile apps, especially when it comes to field service people, and how you can automate the whole process. I mean, just yesterday I was talking to a steel manufacturer where they were having similar issues. They have field people collecting information that's coming in, and that information has to come in papers, and then they have to scan those invoices, process them, and then send it out. It's a whole process. And we were discussing the solution, how you can automate with RPA, building a mobile app for them, and how you can use character recognition for scanning those documents and all of that. And we have done one for a company in Wisconsin using Kofax, because Kofax has both the OCR and also the RPA techniques that are involved. And we are using a couple of other platforms that are helping us provide those expertise, and even working with us to build some of the areas that might be missing within the platform. So yes, that's definitely feasible, and happy to do a consulting session with you to go over how we can achieve that.
Perfect. And another one here. I'm considering automating some aspects of my recruiting department. Where should I start?
Good question. There are a lot of companies using both chatbots and also machine learning techniques for let's assume you have, how do I put it? You have a lot of resumes in your system, and you have requirements that are coming up from the job portals. So you have to grab those job portal requirements, or somehow you have the requirement and you put in the specific skill set, you have to mine through the resumes, identify the right candidate, and define a best fit of a resume, and have different conditions applied. Is the candidate available? Can you submit it? How soon can they join? All these things, generally, whatever time it takes for a recruiter to take that and submit, can be done in a fraction of a second using these techniques, right? Not only that, you can use chatbots that you can use to interact with the potential candidates. So you're now scalable, not driven by the bandwidth of the resources that you have, and you can expand to 24/7 and to how many ever bots you can fire up, and use the techniques on how you can suggest a candidate what jobs are available and suggest resumes for the jobs that are in the market. So there are several companies that are doing it and benefiting from it.
Perfect. And if anyone was able to see Conrad, he's still logged in. He put a link in the chat with it goes to a direct list of full operation labs if you wanted to check that out for reference. Please reach out if you have any more questions. And then we do have another one here. What do you think the real ROI is in automating my company? Is it really that big of a deal?
Well, it really depends. That's a good question. That's where the point I mentioned, the process mining and defining the use cases. These are very, very, very key to understand what could be the ROI. So if you're a 2-member company and every task you do is unique and you don't do much repetitive work, then you are spending more time to automate than what you get from automation, right? So on the other hand, you're a multinational company processing hundreds of thousands of repetitive activities using several people, and you want to identify what is the ROI, then probably you have a better luck at identifying. And the ROI lies in between. It's not just about a small company or a big company. It's more about how much process do you do. You can be the same 2-member company, but doing repetitive tasks, and you're not able to scale up because you only have 2 members, then definitely you will see an ROI. So again, automation is not, or any one of the platforms, AI or RPA, any of them, is not a magic wand. It's more like how you sort what solution and where you apply. That's the key, right?
All right. It looks like we don't have any more questions. If you have any more, throw them in right now. But I think that is all we have for now. There was a lot of good questions, so thank you everybody for that. And that light up. We're a little, maybe 5 minutes ahead of time, so I'll leave it up for a minute or two. If you want to get Manoj's email, it's a little long there, so I'll leave it up so you can jot that down. Other than that, we will have a short break again, and our next live presentation will be at 10:40. So stay tuned for that, and thank you, Manoj.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.